Alright, today we're going to be jumping back into the Bitcoin price action, looking at the short and long-term time frames to kind of decipher where we are in the market, as well as talking about the altcoin market because we are seeing strength resume in that area of the market. But before we do get into all of that and more, I gotta give a big shout out to every single person that is watching this video and subscribe to the channel. We have broken 1,000 subscribers. That is a massive milestone, and I really do appreciate all of you guys for supporting the channel and sticking around because YouTube is the dream. It's why I upload daily, and I will continue to do so as long as you guys are still liking the content. And with that out of the way, let's go ahead, talk about the Bitcoin price. First off, I just saw this on the daily time frame, thought we'd cover it. What am I seeing on the daily time frame? Well, if we go ahead and pull a trend on our wider time frame here from this low to current price, we do see higher lows, whereas our RSI is making lower lows. What is this? This is a hidden bullish divergence, one of the most bullish signs you can see on Bitcoin. And because it's on a daily time frame, this could signal something big for price. Now, does this have to play out right now? No, it could actually come down a little bit. Price could, come down into these imbalances. I said we can't go any lower in a bullish scenario, and I stand by that, but that does not mean we can't go lower and still rally up before a final top does come in. Like I've been saying, the 75k level is where I do expect to go kind of no matter what, even if it is up thrust after distribution. And if we were to break this sweep level convincingly, while yes, it certainly could just be a falling knife because it's a low volume area, and while yes, it cannot be a bullish correction at that point, I still do not believe it would be the time to just panic sell, because if we are comparing to last cycle, we had fractaled something similar to what price is doing now, where we do deviate to the downside, come back up, and then fail this range here, deviating this range, and then coming back up for that up thrust after distribution to complete Wyckoff before the final top did come in right up here. So I'm basically approaching it like this. If we are to hold this low, there is a potential that we could go, six-figure Bitcoin. We could do an epic rally up to $100,000, have distribution much higher up, maybe even a 2017 style blow off top. Whereas if we fail this level and have to find support in the imbalances, while it might not be time to panic sell, that would be a sign of weakness, signaling we are not going to go up to, $100,000 and we are going to distribute. And instead of shooting off into six figures like this first scenario, it would be more likely we actually do top out right there. But it's all just probabilities. We could certainly hold where we are right now and still have that up thrust after distribution. That is one of my base cases for price. That would land the top for Bitcoin anywhere from $75,000 to $80,000. So we'll definitely be watching out for that no matter what sentiment indicators, meme coins rallying, that sort of thing. Those would be your indications for that top actually finally coming in, similar to like we had back here in March. But enough of me drawing stuff. What does this actually look like in 2021? And you can see these arrows are potentially where we are in the market right now. You can see we have this initial top back here in February. We drop down, then we have a rally on up. We do actually make a higher high here, so certainly a little bit different than last cycle. But you can see this range we had created up here at the high is very similar to what we have now. You have this sweep level, last line of support of the range. You go ahead and sweep it, rally on up, and then fail the rally, coming back down into these imbalances and finding support within here before going ahead and starting a secondary rally up where you do finish off the up thrust after distribution before finally rolling back over. So being right here in the cycle is certainly just a thought. It doesn't mean we need to roll back over to fill those imbalances or anything like that, because obviously we see the highs are not the same as they are right now. This fractal is not a one-to-one. If I were to pull this using the bars pattern in here and taking it to current price, and we can see that the time frame is completely different, right? On a 4-hour time frame, we have spent much more time within this range already on Bitcoin, and you could make the argument that because of all this time, the Wyckoff is already completed and we are just going to fail from here. I beg to differ because we are just in a much different time for Bitcoin with those ETFs and everything like that. If we are creating a distribution similar to 2020, 2021, it's just going to take a lot longer this time because of the volume within crypto right now. But essentially, we do see it's fairly similar, right? You have some poor lows within here. This gets swept, deviates to the downside, similar to right there. We then come up, make a higher high, golden pocket retracement. We see the same thing happen here. We then make a similar topping structure within here, come back up, rally for a secondary high. We see that within the price here before trailing down here, breaking the range to the downside, deviating this range back above. And this is where we do go on to make that higher high in the up thrust after distribution. Similar thing could be happening right now. And I do believe it's probably more likely that we are not going to have this secondary deviation. I think, because history doesn't repeat, it rhymes, and structurally it makes more sense to hold this level where we are right now. I do think we're probably just going to hold this, and that could indicate that this is not going to play out, right? It could indicate that there is no sign of weakness and we are going to squeeze on up to six-figure Bitcoin. But because the fractals are similar, I would caution if we do come up here that this could top out anywhere from that like $75,000 to $80,000 level, and this could be the top for Bitcoin before finally rolling back over. Now, if this fractal is going to play out like I think is possible, is that necessarily a bad thing? Do we not have time for an altcoin season because of this? Are we pretty much just going to look for retracements and then getting out of our positions? And in my opinion, no, I think we could actually see a big altcoin season, even if it is just one more upthrust after distribution that lasts, maybe 20 to 50 days. I think that is enough time to see a secondary parabola in the altcoin market, and we could potentially double the rally we've already done, going all the way up to that value area high of the previous bull market range like we've been talking about on total 3. And the reasoning for this is if we go back to Bitcoin in 2021, right, in this distribution range, this arrow right here is the same time as this arrow over here on the right. And this is total 3 from last cycle. And you can see from this point within distribution on Bitcoin, the altcoins have an entire secondary rally, the second half of the altcoin season within distribution right here. I will say the altcoins have been massively underperforming this fractal here, right? Throughout 2021, we see higher lows on total 3, even while Bitcoin is making lower lows. We see quite the opposite right now. Altcoins have been underperforming Bitcoin, which honestly looks a little bit more similar to the 2019 rally. We can see back in 2019 for Bitcoin, when we make this bear market rally, these highs are at about the same level. Yet on total 3, we do make much lower highs within here and just continually underperforms Bitcoin throughout here. And what we do see is monetary policy is similar to 2019, with the Fed finishing a hiking cycle and now in a pausing cycle. Compared to the two previous bull markets in 2017 and 2020, the Fed had already had a cutting cycle and was in a pausing cycle. So the fact that we do have tighter monetary policy right now could be a reasoning for retail just not having enough money to pump the altcoins, and it could mean that the altcoin season doesn't really in fact have to happen. But Bitcoin made an all-time high, and historically Bitcoin making an all-time high is extremely good for your altcoins, and I would be somewhat surprised if we are not able to have like a second half of the altcoin season, because historically we always do have that. You could say we already had 2 rallies for the altcoins, right? We already had our first altcoin season, secondary altcoin season. That's the final top for our altcoins within there. But I would amount this first rally as still in Wyckoff accumulation. This is phase E of Wyckoff, where you backtest your previous range highs, similar to back in 2020 when we went ahead finished off this Wyckoff accumulation much lower down. You can see here we had a first rally which backtest the range highs within here, and from here is when you start your waves of the altcoin season. Wave 1, then wave 2. So again, we kind of are in uncharted territories. We don't really know what's going to happen here, but there's certainly a case to be made that we only had one wave and now we need a secondary wave to come in here before a final top does come in. And there's even the case that we are just very early in the cycle. We are still in accumulation, and we are going to have the entire parabola for the altcoin market sending us into complete price discovery on total 3, because honestly, on a fractal basis, the altcoin market does look the most similar to all the way back here, which is when Bitcoin was breaking its all-time highs back here in 2020. You can see this is when it was going through that $20,000 level, trying to get into price discovery and fully break out on the price here. And it is certainly possible with what the S&P is doing right now. We are just in reaccumulation on Bitcoin, and we are going to shoot up and have our massive rally into 6 figures, where the altcoins have their entire alt season throughout this range in here. And that is the reason we're seeing a lot of sideways action in here, is because this is truly just reaccumulation before we go into the actual rally where all of the gains are made. So a lot of possibilities, a lot of stuff to think about here when we are looking at Bitcoin on a fractal basis. Are we here? Are we here? Are we, here right now? And it's really impossible to know, but everything does point to the liquidity at 75K getting grabbed, and for us making that higher high on at least an upthrust after distribution, worst case scenario, and if not, potentially going up to 6 figures, squeezing up into a 2017 style blow off top. And it is certainly possible to do so because Bitcoin follows the stock market, and the S&P is creating that blow off top, so I see no reason we can't do it here as well. Now that we have talked about the macro, let's talk about short-term price action and why I believe the low is in in, like I was talking about in my last video. This is, in my opinion, our kind of last line of support at the sweep level for a nice bullish correction. And currently, while we did pull back a little bit here on the day, I don't think it's anything to worry about. This was just a golden pocket retest, a retest of the sweep level from back here. This is totally expected to happen, just forming a nice little double bottom within here before the continuation to the upside. And I do fully expect that continuation to the upside because our top side liquidity has not been grabbed. If we jump over here into Trading Light, a level I posted in the Discord to be watching out for was a sweep of these highs back here into the single prints. You can see this is the fast moving price on the 30-minute candles, creating those single prints, those imbalances that can act as resistance. Not only do we have sweep level and single prints, but this is also a mathematical level. If you pull swing high, swing low, this comes in right at your golden pocket. The fact that we did not grab this level before, pulling back here and forming that double bottom shows me that this pullback right here is a bullish pullback and could give us that momentum to go ahead and actually break through this stuff and flip it into support before squeezing on up to our bigger liquidity levels. We have a lot of sweep levels above us right now on price, a lot of poor highs in the chart, and I do think if we can start squeezing up into this, it could just be cascading liquidations all the way up to that $74,000, $75,000 level. But I'm not trying to predict the future, right? We got some big sellers up here. We do have a lot of resistance in this area as well. So if we do go ahead and swing fail this level, it could potentially roll over from here, and we could do that pullback into the imbalances. We also see our buyers to the downside kind of disappeared. I'm assuming these were just spoof walls for people entering within this area here. But these walls could certainly be fumbling into price at the golden pocket, and that could actually be very bullish that they remove these. So yeah, we'll just have to wait and watch, see what does play out here on price. But my base case remains the same. I believe we are going to squeeze up to $75,000, and I believe this is our low as it was at our last line of support, in my opinion. And our liquidation heat map is telling us higher is more likely. If we go ahead, jump over here to CoinGlass on all the time frames, starting off with the 3-day, you can see higher liquidity nodes are to the upside. This is that block around where the single prints are, and then we have more liquidity above these highs. Those secondary highs are easier to see on a weekly time frame. You can see the poor highs from all the way back on June 14th, making very high liquidity nodes to the upside around $67,400. And jumping out to the monthly time frame, you can see these poor highs all the way up at around $72,300. There's a very high liquidity node all the way up there. Lots of shorts to be taken out all the way up at 72K. And jumping out to the 3-month time frame now, you can just easily see that there is more liquidity to the upside, and most of it is sitting at all-time highs, and that is why my base case remains it is much more likely for Bitcoin to do the full rotation all the way back up to those all-time highs. Not only does Bitcoin look really good for a low coming in and for a squeeze up higher, but we even see with strength in Bitcoin, there is more strength in the altcoin market, and Bitcoin dominance is coming down. After swing failing this trend yesterday, we are starting to hunt down for the lows here on Bitcoin dominance, and I do fully believe now that this altcoin season is going to start. It's going to play out like I was talking about, where even if we do have that upthrust after distribution, this is where altcoins should start to outperform. And I know I've been saying it a lot, that altcoin season was probably going to start, right? I thought this double top was going to play out and we were going to deviate back within here. But right now, I do think everything is aligned for that altcoin season to finally play out. So now or never. Let's start the altcoin season 2.0 and watch by on the sidelines to see if this is going to be an epic rally where we do have the entire parabola of the altcoin market ahead of us, where Bitcoin goes into 6 figures and we see max euphoria, or if this is just going to be wave 2 of the altcoin season where Bitcoin tops out around $75,000, $80,000. And either way you put it, I still think we got some really good gains ahead of us for the altcoin market, and I'm really excited what price is doing right now. I believe that low is in, and we got a lot of good things to look forward to and to watch out for. And with that being said, if you got any questions about anything I talked about today, or just want to join the community for this channel, link to my Discord is in the description down below. I'm also partnered up with BingX, and we're running an event right now for a lot of good futures bonuses. If you are interested in any of that, you can basically get free money completing some of those tasks below. So go ahead, make sure to sign up using that link, and then the event link is below that. But with that being said, thank you all so much for watching. Thank you all for 1,000 subscribers, and I'll see you all in the next video.